What if I told you there was a war that lasted 335 years, and not a single shot was ever fired? No soldiers were deployed, no lives were lost, no battles were fought, just silence. This isn't a hypothetical question. It's the bizarre and completely true story of the Dutch Scilly War. Let us rewind all the way back to 1651. England is in the middle of a brutal civil war between the parliamentarians, led by Oliver Cromwell, and the royalists loyal to the king. The royalist navy, facing defeat, retreats to the Isles of Scilly, just off the coast of Cornwall. From here, they basically turn into state-sponsored pirates, raiding merchant ships to fund their cause. Now, a lot of these ships belong to the Dutch. The Netherlands, an ally of the parliamentarians, was getting pretty fed up with their ships being plundered. They sent their own fleet, led by Admiral Martin Tromp, to demand compensation from the royalists. The royalists, holed up on their little islands, basically told the Dutch to get lost. So Admiral Tromp, following his orders, officially declared war on the Isles of Scilly. Just on the islands, not on all of England. This is where the story takes its first strange turn. A few weeks later, the English Civil War ended. The parliamentarians won. The royalist fleet surrendered, and their whole operation on the Isles of Scilly fell apart. The very reason for the conflict had vanished almost overnight. But here's the kicker. Nobody told the Dutch. Admiral Tromp and his fleet sailed away, and back in the Netherlands, the declaration of war was filed away and forgotten. On the Isles of Scilly, life went on. The locals had no idea they were technically, on paper, at war with one of Europe's major naval powers. It was a war that existed only in a dusty archive, a forgotten footnote in a much larger conflict. For the next 3 centuries, this non-existent war just sat there. Think about that for a second. Generations were born, lived their entire lives, and passed away on the Isles of Scilly, completely unaware of their nation's official state of war. Meanwhile, the world was changing dramatically. The American Revolution happened. The Napoleonic Wars reshaped Europe. The Industrial Revolution transformed society. Empires rose and fell. 2 world wars were fought. And through it all, this bizarre, silent conflict between the Netherlands and a tiny group of English islands remained officially active. It was like a computer program running in the background that everyone had forgotten about. The war outlived every single person who was alive when it was declared. It outlived the governments, the political alliances, and even the very ships that were involved. It became a historical ghost, a legal anomaly that no one even knew existed. Until 1986, a local historian and chairman of the Isles of Scilly Council, a man named Roy Duncan, was digging through old records. He stumbled upon this ancient declaration of war and realized, to his astonishment, that there was no record of a peace treaty ever being signed. Curious, he decided to write a letter to the Dutch embassy in London. You can imagine the scene at the embassy when they received it. Wait a minute, we're still at war with who? The Scilly Islands. The discovery caused a flurry of bemused activity among diplomats. They checked their own archives, and sure enough, Roy Duncan was right. For 335 years, the Netherlands had been officially at war with a part of the United Kingdom, and nobody knew. So, on April 17, 1986, the Dutch ambassador traveled to the Isles of Scilly to finally put this strange chapter of history to rest. In a small, light-hearted ceremony, he signed a formal peace treaty, officially ending the war. The locals found the whole thing hilarious. The ambassador joked that it must have been one of the most peaceful wars in history, given the complete lack of casualties. He also quipped that it must have been terrifying for the Scillonians to know the Dutch could have attacked at any moment. But beyond the humor, there's a fascinating lesson here. The 335 Years' War is a perfect example of how conflicts can sometimes take on a life of their own, outliving the people and the reasons that started them, all because of bureaucratic inertia. It's a reminder that even the longest, most forgotten wars can eventually end with a simple handshake and a bit of laughter, as long as someone remembers to check the paperwork. What do you think is the strangest forgotten fact from history? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful corners of our past. See you next time.